Stoll here. At Moody Radio, our mission is to introduce people to Jesus, and that's why we're so excited to be partnering with Cure International Children's Hospitals. Every day, across 23 countries, Cure is providing free, life-changing surgeries for children with treatable disabilities, and sharing the gospel of Jesus Christ with every child and family. It's what Jesus called us to do. Want to learn more? Visit cure.org/Moody.
Hello, Roland Warren here with your Pro-Abundant Life Minute. The pro-choice movement has long used language to mislead. Now they're pushing a new term, co-creation, rather than procreation, to explain a woman's role in conception. Let's break it down. The prefix pro means for, while co means with. A procreator facilitates life. A co-creator actively creates life along with someone else. So, if a woman is a co-creator of life, she may believe that she has full control over it, just like an artist over a painting. But life isn't like that. We don't create sperm or eggs. God does. We are procreators entrusted with what He's made, with no right to destroy it. Let's not be deceived. Life is not a human creation. It's a sacred trust. For more pro-abundant life insights, visit care-net.org.
You're listening to Mornings with Eric and Brigitte here on Moody Radio, South Florida 89.3. And Jill is joining us today, and we're really looking forward to this next conversation because we sometimes hear ministries in our community, but when you get to kind of get the behind the scenes and really celebrate what God's doing in them and through them and find out how we can join them, that's a whole nother level.
Oh, it sure is. I love kids, love everything about them, love my own kids, love everyone else's kids. I was part of an American Heritage Girls Troop as the leader of that, children's ministry director at church, and I just love seeing kids thrive, kids learning how to love Jesus, and it just breaks my heart when I realize that that is not the opportunity that every child in our community has, and that's why I'm so glad that this morning we are welcoming 4 Kids of South Florida President Andrew Holmes. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Absolutely. Good morning. Good morning. It is such a joy to be back with you both. I have to share like a super small tidbit. I just found this out walking in.
Okay.
This was my grandmother's favorite radio station. I had no idea.
Now, how did you know that? How did you find that out?
I was texting my mom. I was like, Mom, I'm gonna be joining Moody Radio this morning. It's gonna be really awesome. And she's like, that was your grandmother's favorite radio station. So I was like, yes, I'm around great people today.
Oh, full circle. And shout out to your grandma and your mom.
Oh,
they raised you right, I'm sure. Well, here you are now. It's been, I think you told me 9 months since you kind of ascended to that role of president of 4 Kids of South Florida. And for those who are new to the ministry, just tell us what you all do day in and day out.
Yeah, 4 Kids is an incredible ministry. It is really the compilation of years of service. We work with churches in the South Florida region. We started out as a foster care organization. That was the bullseye and will be the bullseye. But as we've grown, we've found we've had some of the best outcomes in the nation, and God has opened up other doors for us to continue to further this mission, right? So not only do we do foster care, but we do therapeutic services, and we also got in the preventative space. And basically what that means is not only are we finding homes for these children who come into care, we're also ministering to their biological families so that the family unit can stay together and keep kids out of the system all at the same time.
Because kids thrive best when they're in and with their families.
Absolutely.
I mean, that is the goal, but that can't always be the reality for some of the kids. So can you paint a picture for those who are unfamiliar with this issue? And obviously I know every child's situation is different, but paint a picture for just the plight of the foster child. What is that like? What do they experience? Why are they taken from their home to begin with?
Sure, yeah. And I can speak to this pretty accurately because I used to do that. That was my origination into the child welfare space. I was an investigator down here, a child protective investigator. And basically children all across South Florida, all across the state for that matter, are coming into care daily. And for really 3 main reasons, and that's abuse, neglect, and abandonment, right? Abuse is you can think of what that is. Neglect is, not being able to take care of your children properly. And abandonment is simply when people leave their children at a fire station, or unfortunately we see sometimes in the news babies are put in dumpsters and places like that. That would be considered abandonment. But a couple of the main reasons kids are coming into foster care right now in South Florida is because of inadequate housing and inadequate supervision, and then also substance abuse. So basically, you can kind of see how that makes sense with what's going on in our society, right? Like housing can be difficult, and as that gets passed down, now families are having a hard time finding homes, which means kids are having not safe places to live, which means they're coming into foster care.
And how important is it for the church to be involved? I know that's kind of the centerpiece of For Kids is we have the church coming alongside the system. How important is that?
So you ask an incredible question. My belief, and I believe I echo the belief of a lot of us in this room and listeners today, is the church is the answer. I mean, not just in the foster care space, but the church is the hope of the world. And it just so happens to be that this mandate of caring for the orphan, if you will. Now, obviously, kids in foster care, we wouldn't label them as orphans, but the biblical context of being orphaned, of being without a parent or parents, is very, very applicable to these children in the foster system. So the church's role is critical. I believe, and the state would echo this, that the church's involvement is paramount in really rectifying this issue. And I believe the reason why For Kids has had such great traction is because we know that. We don't shy away from that. We are a faith-based organization. We are authentically Christian. We don't make any ifs, ands, or buts, no apologies. That is who we are, and we are that way because of the church.
And it's amazing that as unapologetic as you are about that, the state is saying, we need your help. We need to know what you're doing because you're doing it with excellence. So the state is saying, just help us out here, right?
Yeah. And I think the reason for that is outcomes. Outcomes. It's one thing to say this about your organization or about places you go to. It's another thing when it's backed up with outcomes, and some of those outcomes for us, I'll give you something I actually heard this week. Right now in the state, they're experiencing a bit of a crisis. We've been down about 700 foster families statewide. That's the entirety of Florida. And even if you look through the database and see, most of these organizations are a net negative. So what I mean by that is every year you have foster families, new licenses that say, hey, I want to foster. They come in. And then you also have licenses that close, right? So it's like coming into school and graduating from school. But one of the things that we have been seeing as a trend over the years is that there's less and less over the years. Well, the state is down 700 families. For Kids is up families. I think we're going to finish this year with a net gain of 36 families, which might not seem like a very big deal, but when you compare it to other organizations with maybe a celebration is that they maintained 0, that they had no loss, no win, it's humongous. And it's a testament to the church being the church and how it affects our relationship with the state.
Well, because you're really maintaining what the Bible tells us. It's Matthew chapter 18 that says, anyone who welcomes a little child like this on my behalf is welcoming me. And I think when we really get that idea that it's not about just kind of getting comfortable with our own families or in our own marriages, just doing our own thing, but it's really realizing that as we welcome these children that don't have a home, we're welcoming the Savior himself. How important is that?
I mean, if you guys could see me on the radio, I'm lighting up right now because that's something that is so dear to us at For Kids. And I want you to just, you on the listening end right now, I want you to think about that for a second, what was just said. By welcoming one of these little ones, you literally are welcoming Jesus. That is incredible to know that some of these very practical, tangible things that we do with vulnerable children are actually access points to encountering more of the presence of Jesus. I mean, to me, that's mind-blowing,
Right. We say we want more of Jesus. Where was Jesus when he walked this earth? He was amongst the vulnerable. He was amongst the hurting. And when we want more of him, sometimes maybe if we get a little closer to those types of people and invite them in, we'll sense him a little bit more as we reflect his love to them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah.
And that is the call of 4Kids, is to invite others to join you in this work. So what are some practical ways that people are listening that say, okay, I hear the need, I want to be a part of it. What can that look like for me?
Yeah, deep dive is we need foster families. That's a big one. So and that's really a calling. And if you're out there today and you want to have that conversation, just connect with us. You can go to our website, 4kids.us. That's the number 4kids.us, and follow the prompts on our website. That's a deep dive. That's not everybody. I'd love it to be everybody, but we know that's not everybody. Second to that is joining us in some of the volunteer opportunities that we have, which you can also find on our website. We do things like a family advocacy ministry, which basically is an extended family for a foster family. So things like meals and babysitting and mentoring and just being a prayer partner to our families. Our families actually need that. And we have data that shows that this group of people actually helps us to foster longer and stronger. A data point on that is our stability rate. So the state of Florida has this stability rate, which basically is how many times a child would move in the course of 1,000 days, about 3 years. And right now it's really, really high. It's like 4.8. So let's just call it 5. So think about that. A child would move 5 times in 3 years, different homes, possibly different schools. That's a lot of trauma. Well, the 4Kids homes, praise God, with this type of fam support, that number is right about 1. So that means that kids aren't moving in a 4Kids home because of things that we talked about. So being a part of that volunteer circle around a foster family is humongous. And then there are also other ways to join in and be a part of our prayer team. There's ways to support us with resources, things like that. And all of that can be found on our website.
And thankfully, we do have a link to their website as well at ericandbrigitte.org. And one thing you said that really stuck out to me is that support system that every foster family has. I was talking to a friend who has done that, and she said it was so helpful to have people who would come and babysit. And the thing is that not everybody can. She couldn't take the foster kid to her mother, for say, or her grandmother, because you have to go through a process and vet it. And so when you have people that you can go to who's already been through the process, that's helpful for every foster family.
Yeah, absolutely. And we do that. We actually clear our caregivers in our volunteer department. So to your point, Bridget, it's not just there's a specialization, if you will. You have to kind of understand, when kids have gone through trauma, their brains develop a little bit differently. And to have some tools to help navigate that, it's not impossible. It's actually really rewarding, and it's actually benefited me in the parenting of my biological children, because you have more tools as a parent, more tools as a caregiver. So that's something that's an added benefit that our volunteers receive when they decide to become cleared caregivers.
Yesterday, I was watching a friend's kiddo, and we were singing This Little Light of Mine. And so we got out a flashlight, and he just started dancing around the room with his flashlight, This Little Light of Mine. And it's almost like the word picture that God gave me this morning as I was looking at just what 4Kids is doing is you're really that beacon in the community saying, I'm going to let my light shine, because it's Jesus that we're directing these kids and these families to, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the ultimate goal, right? It's funny as leading now this organization, it's really easy to say we are the best organization that ever, just because of this natural affinity I have toward this space and the calling that God has given me. But when you zoom out and look at this through the larger capital C kind of church perspective, we know our piece and we are very passionate about our piece. But ultimately, I think the highest prize of anyone that joins in a ministry is number one, loving God with all of your heart, soul, and strength. And we get to do that through the vertical of serving vulnerable children and families. And then second is loving our neighbor, also the Great Commission, those who don't know the Lord yet. And we get to shine that light, to be that salt and light to these children early on. I mean, when a kid comes into care, when a child is experiencing some of the deepest pains of their life, and the very first person that houses them is somebody that believes and knows and has a real relationship with the Lord Jesus Christ, to administer that healing in them, it changes literally destinies.
We're talking with Andrew Holmes, president of 4Kids of South Florida. You can find out about their ministry at ericandbrigitte.org. But Andrew, before we let you go, maybe you can give just a story, maybe a testimony that just shines the light on the power of what God is doing through 4Kids.
I love it. So I'll be as brief as possible. We had a mother, a younger mother who wanted to be a foster mom with us, and she didn't have any kids, but she knew in her heart she was supposed to be a mother. And she went through the process and thought maybe I should be a foster family. She tried, and it didn't kind of work out. And then she saw it at one church she went to, and then the next weekend she went to another church. And then when she moved into her new house, when they gave her the keys, there was a 4Kids keychain on the keys. So she said, okay, God, I'm paying attention. She's a nurse, okay? She goes through the process. At the same time, there's this little baby that comes into care, born premature because he was substance exposed, we call it. And this baby had to spend time in the NICU. It just so happened to be that this NICU on the second floor of this hospital was the exact same place that this mother was working. And when we called her and let her know that this was your placement, she was able to visit that baby for the 3 or 4 weeks before the baby even came into her home, to the point where when she would walk into the hospital room, the baby would look for her, because that relationship was built. Only God can do stuff like that.
Only God can do that. But he invites us to be a part of these stories. And 4Kids of South Florida is providing that opportunity. We'd love for you to find out about this ministry, ways to plug in as well. We've got their link on our website, ericandbrigitte.org. It's just 5 minutes now before 8 o'clock.
Moody Radio Podcasts, a tool that